started the recording because okay, so today is Sunday. I'm with my gal pals, if you hadn't noticed already. Well, like you didn't expect it either. I don't know. Today is Sunday, January the 20th, 2019. And it is, well, you could call it the eclipse gateway because the energetics are already here and they have been, and they've been coming for this. We were just talking about this and how I was not paying attention to myself, and that is done because I've been feeling these energetics for a month and a half and talking about them with Lisa, not realizing, and then Magenta Pixie comes out with exactly what I've been feeling for a month and a half. And I'm like, oh yeah, okay, yeah. So I think, and then we just started talking about the detoxing is what's up. I mean, that's what I got a month and a half ago. Yeah. I was craving a physical detox, and I kept saying to myself, today's the day I'm gonna do a physical. I'm gonna start with just coffee and water. Didn't make it the full day, and I just kept, and I don't even, so I just didn't, it was a nudge that I didn't follow. And I actually said to you that I was going to do a 3-day so that it would be culminate at the end. This was before, this is what, 3-4 days ago, I guess I said, and I didn't. And then I was urged the other day to at least do it for 24 hours, which I'm doing now. So, but last night I was trying to listen to Magenta Pixie and I fell asleep. And see, earlier in the week I shared with Lisa.
That's excellent.
What happened to both of us, we found out that, because I asked her, because I listened to it when I got up. And I asked Lisa when I saw her if she had, and she said the same thing happened for
excellent.
her.
That's excellent.
Well, I've been amazed to discover just in today how much I have felt and known about this day, and just did not give myself any sort of attention. Had I given any sort of focus and attention to what my own nudges were telling me, it's not that I don't feel prepared for today, but I do feel today to be a very auspicious day. And Lisa, do you want to share what you shared with me earlier and what you got?
For what, this morning?
Yeah, your snippet that you came back with. Because earlier in the week, I got this bit about, I came back with 2 words. I either get songs, or whenever I come back, when I say come back from the sleeping realm, where I think I might be sleeping. Sometimes I'm not so sure, especially when the body comes back with bruises. But at any rate, earlier in the week, I got 2 words, discordant water. Remember I shared that before. But you came back with some stuff.
Yeah, it was really fun. Well, I haven't had a dream that I recall in a super long time. So it was exciting on many levels. It was just nice to come back with something at all. So there was that deliciousness. And then what it was really exciting too. So I was dreaming that I was in a place, and I have no idea where this was. It was, in a place in a dream. And I got a call, and the call was from the moving trucks company. And they were saying the drivers are on their way. And I looked around and I realized, oh my God. The moving trucks will be here. We have 2.5 hours. It was 2.5 hours until the trucks arrive. And I was surveying my situation at hand, and I could have done a little better job packing. And so I had a little bit of a moment when I realized the amount of work I had to do in 2.5 hours. But there was such a rush of adrenaline excitement that the trucks are on their way that I woke up feeling not sort of the dread of, how much work was ahead of me, but the excitement of the work, if you will. It was movement. The moving trucks are coming. Yeah. And then when I was taking a shower, so I was sort of really kind of swimming around in this energetic of getting ready for the moving trucks. And on the shower curtain at the end, it was all foggy, steamy, and it's see-through, so I could see the light, but not really see because it was steamy. But I could see a little face. Well, first it was eyes, and then a little face sort of developed, and there was a water bubble that kind of caught my attention, and it seemed to move from the bottom to the top, sort of, instead of how the water should be flowing on the curtain. So I really looked at it for a second, and I've been watching this reader who's working. She doesn't work with the tarot, but she does fairy card readings. And so there was a fairy character that has showed up a few times in some of my readings. And I thought she was calling him Obi, but so we learned that that's not actually his name. But for this story, he'll be Obi. So I saw this little fairy character from the cards. I could see his little face and whiskers, and what caught my attention was he has a ball that he has. And so I felt his message for me was, and she calls him Obi the Retriever. And so I was holding it as what he was offering this morning was that gift of movement, was the finalization portion of a very long held dream and desire. And now that's meeting its opportunity, in the flow to take off from here. So yeah, the messages this morning were all very positive.
Cool. What I saw when you were describing that, the way you described it, the moving trucks were coming. You were going to put your bags in it and go someplace else. What I saw unfold is the moving trucks are moving all of your creations out of you and into the physical world.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I saw it too.
I'm feeling it on so many different levels.
Yes.
Because you're already here.
But yeah, the multidimensionality of all of it is really, really, really flowing in all of that. What made that experience for me with Lisa sharing that with me so delicious is that I was so drawn to those fairy cards, the fairy oracle of which she's speaking. I had to have a deck. I'd have a deck, and I got a deck, and I'm just getting to know the deck. I now completely understand why I've been so drawn to it on a lot of different kinds of levels. On the 3D linear level, the artist that created the artwork for the deck is Brian Froud, and he was involved with Jim Henson in the creation of The Labyrinth, and that is one of my most favorite movies. Yeah. And there's so many metaphors in that movie that I connected with on so many different levels, and they just keep revealing themselves to me at every turn. And so there was a real connection, and so hadn't really looked at what the ascribed meanings were to these cards yet. But when she came to me this morning and was sharing that with me, I asked her to just look at the card and feel into it, and because that's part of the getting to know the deck that they recommend. And I felt like, because I do know tarot, and so there's specific archetypes, and there's a lot to kind of consider with tarot. And this is, I really understand why I've been so drawn to this now, because it encourages breaking out of even those more linear type archetypes, and feel into the multiplicity of this realm.
And the sentient aspect of all that's involved in it is represented more, like the aliveness of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, and there's each time, each card, each being, each energetic envelope is a reality created. So if you're going off, well, this card means X, and you're in this window, an energetic envelope, well, if as like it's on a list. Okay, I look at the list and I pulled this card, it means X. It doesn't work that way anymore.
No.
Well,
and that was just a guide before, but it doesn't work that way.
Right, exactly. Well, to be honest, where tarot for me, where in learning tarot, I only ever used those as a guide, because almost everything I've ever read about tarot is to use your own intuition as you connect with the card, because and different decks will bring different energetics as well. So I mean, I've worked with it a bit, and this deck just, I mean, it's
maybe a more accurate way to say it is there. I'll just make up a number. There, 52 quadrillion, cheat cards of what the deck means. And if you got one more being than that, then there's 53.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's just open dialogue between all the parts and pieces of you. I don't know. The metaphor of it is just so beautiful in different layers that no matter what angle you look at it, it's all there. I don't know. It's just so glorious. This moment of now is quite delicious. As I hold myself.
Well, it's that beholding.
What a clear picture.
It's that beholding. It's that revealing to oneself and that connection that's going on, and then the other fun thing is that you can be, well, with the cards, because we're in this example, but you can do it with anything. You can be with the cards, and then someone happens to come and walk up next to you, right? Or in a more of an etheric, telepathic way, and you'll see that there's movement within the card, and because the frequency, it's have you ever seen, well, you can see it, it's easier if you see a still photograph, but there's a photograph of at night with a big 5-lane highway, or maybe it's 4 lanes on each side, so it's 8-lane highway, and all the colored lights, so some are white, some there, and they freeze the frame so that the colors blur a little. You can tell, that there's road and cars and stuff.
Right.
So that would be a good word picture to create what, as a freeze frame of what we're doing with all the energy frequencies in any given moment.
Right.
And all of those colors, all of those kind of streams or streaks, right, are all information in that moment that's flowing, but it's not static.
Right.
Well, yes, absolutely. I just you just described. Lisa was sitting in this chair right here, and I was standing in the doorway to my bedroom, which if those curtains were open, you'd be, which they won't ever be because that's our storage hallway. So no. But at any rate, you could see my bedroom door back there. And I was standing in my bedroom door looking out this way, and Lisa was speaking. And I had my eyes closed for a moment, and I could see radiations of color coming. And then when I opened my eyes, I could still see them. Now, this was just before, as we're getting ready to come on here. And it looked very much like what you're describing there. I don't see that all the time. I had just been, sitting and quietly contemplating in my room for a bit, and I had stepped out. But I'd also been sitting I found a spot in my window where I could get to the sun. So I was sitting there just kind of, relaxing for a few minutes before we, because the sun has been few and far between here lately, and it is out today, but it is
intermittent
and very, very windy. I think our wind chill is like off the hook out here, so there'll be no going outside. I went outside to get the mailbox, but that was so
the wind whipped right through you today. And there's a lot of it.
Yes. But I want to go back out there, but I'm hoping that the wind will die down some. So
well, there's much movement in the wind. Much is upon the wind rolling in the radiating colors that people are seeing.
That's why I've been sitting out in my room, just because I was feeling like the wind was communicating something. And because it has been very, very, very windy here. And I was feeling that very much so, that it's carrying a lot of communication with it. So yeah. There just seems to be a lot of multi-level communication going on for me.
Everything is communication.
And it won't ever stop.
No.
Well, it never started to stop to now it's there, sort of thing, because it's always been there, but now it's really loud, and so you're listening. Well, you mentioned at the beginning you were feeling about detoxing, and one of the ways, which is kind of what started us, and you just hit the record button on a personal level, detox. So like a body. So you mentioned just get rid of the coffee and right. So, and I was laughing and I said everything. So not only on the physical body, but everything. If you keep pointing at anything or ask anything, yep, that too. And for some beings, they've been doing that quite a while for one area and not at all in another area, or bits and pieces in all areas, and then it's just a kind of a polishing up or letting this go, or so again, I just wanted to mention that so that people aren't thinking, oh, I didn't feel that, or I don't have this, or oh, I need to go do that because it sounded like a good idea or whatever, and then you go do it without being in a foundation of, and this is personal to each being, in that trusting flow. Because that, whatever you're releasing, and the way I hold the whole energetic of that, the detoxing is, well, it's, first of all, it's a very linear way to describe it, but it's toxic in only so much as there was a holding onto it, or a having it there in the first place without any conscious awareness. You know what I mean? So you could take the healthiest, if we're talking about just your body and food, you could take the healthiest absolute thing, and that there would need to be detoxing around that, because you were eating it because you should, or there, so
Right.
there's toxicity around that, because anything that is constriction is a distortion. So the way I would say it is, it's a releasing of distortions on every level.
No, I'm in agreement with you. I'm very clear for myself in this moment of now that all of what I've been getting and feeling in regards to a detox or a fasting, because I've also been getting a whole lot of energetic of fasting, or just a cleansing of a letting go of. I'm really speaking of an energetic here.
Yeah.
And
Right.
because I've had a lot of, well, I mean, we've actually been doing a lot of that here on so many different levels with
Yeah.
Lisa's storage unit. Just gobs and gobs of things going to, the ladies abuse shelter, local abuse shelter, charity that's all supported by, goods that are donated for sale in their thrift shop. And so just loads of that sort of energetic, just letting go, purging, all of that sort of thing. And I think a lot of folks have been feeling that, whether they attribute it to anything. And I want to say this too. I'm not sitting here wishing I had done something in regards to a detox or a fasting. I want to be clear on that, because I am not. I am saying that I am recognizing in this moment of now that there were certain nudges that I was nudged to do and I didn't do. But I'm also very well aware that this has served to show me quite a bit, because this is something that I felt and didn't put a lot of credence or substance to until I heard it outside of myself,
Right.
by someone so much more in the know than moi, that I would even consider. That's what I'm remarking.
Yeah, that's what I was that's on all levels. So that's a very great example of that distortion. It's releasing those distortions.
And
so I love Magenta Pixie, and her energy is great, and she brings forward great things. That does not diminish her in any way, shape, or form.
No.
But when, again, it's didn't I just talk about the healthy thing? So magenta is a really healthy fruit, whatever, if you want to use it in that thing. But holding it only is that, oh, okay, well now, this person or this person said it. Now that's where the distortion comes in.
Needs to take place.
Right. And that's what I want to acknowledge in this moment of now, that is a part of this.
Exactly.
Number one for me, that I obviously set all of that up for myself for this moment of now. Number one. Number two, for me, I don't think there's any wrong way to do this. So because I didn't do it then, does not preclude me from whatever it is I had planned for myself on whatever levels at all. And as a matter of fact, I'm just going to go with this here, because this is what I feel on every level of me. It's all been happening on all those aspects, or I wouldn't have felt the energetic vibe of detox to begin with. Right. That was so that the little me could know what I've been doing and finally show myself, see, you've been doing this all along, And here's a really, 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 now it's in my face example of it. And it doesn't mean that it hasn't been happening all along. It's just now and I don't know if I got this because I was doing a musing, so I don't know if this is actually out there or not, but I'm very clear now that we're in charge of when our eyes open. Completely in charge of that. So
Always have been.
That's right. So I will know what I need to know in the timeliest fashion for me. And I am finally okay with that.
And, you know, there are other things that as you, something you brought up, you know, of not listening to the nudges and stuff. And part of that was an example to yourself. So you can't get it wrong, and you're eternal, so you're not going to get it done. So, okay, that's good. But just quietly listen to that and feel into that. And the other thing is that there are different steps that you can flow through, we'll say, that, and listening to nudges and so on and so forth, they're all choice points. So it may make, if there's a detoxification in the physical body because there's much distortion you've been holding on to, just to use that as an example, you can get nudged to do different things and feel into the nudge and do it. And so then the detoxing unfolds and this is only in a perception and not, again, I'm not ascribing any labels to a good or bad, but that it's in a flow of more smoothness. So this happens and this happens and this happens. Oh, I feel better. Or, oh, I had, a moment of, boy, and then I feel right. Or you can also do it where, it's just, isn't there a saying that, the S hits the fan and you can do it that way. It's not that one or the other is wrong or right. And here's something that maybe a lot of beings have trouble with, but the shit hitting the fan, in a lot of times, in a lot of ways, in a lot of different things, is exactly, absolutely, superbly the correct, perfect, beautiful, most expansive, most loving, most cosmically delicious way for that to unfold for that particular being at that particular junction. And
I think that's why I'm sharing it in just that particular way, because there may have been times past that I would have kicked myself and, oh my gosh, you should have, done this or that or the other thing. But I see how perfect this particular setup was for me. It was so perfect. And
but see, you're flowing with that. What I just to finish on the other thing is that when it comes around and it's, like you're on the floor, you're beyond a wet noodle, and it's been whoa, right? That the lamentation and the berating or the this is horrible or whatever it is. Okay, well, great. That's if that's the choice. If you're choosing it consciously, then there's more distortion there that you're then clearing, and waves will come in with that. It's not a punishment thing. It's not that's all totally linear, ego mind, false construct bullshit. None of this at all works that way. And that's the same thing. And this is hard for a number of beings until their heart is open.
Yes.
To say anything that you could look out there that's gone on, that has been done, it's all the same thing. It's the distortion is distortion. It doesn't matter who and what the distortion is and what's going on. It's a distortion. It's not I don't, we have the language that we have and how it's been twisted and by us.
Yeah.
Well,
as well as all others.
Yes, but I gotta say now, there's we've talked about this a lot lately, and there are multiple examples in the mainstream and the out there that are showing exactly what you're trying to describe here in regards to the language and how distorted it is.
Yeah.
I will take, for example, and I never get her name correct. She's the youngest, whatever. There's a lot of stuff being said about democratic socialism, and this is a very good example for me in regards to how, without thinking about things, the language is so distorted because we put a particular thing on it on the other end that sounds good until you really dig into it. You've been sold a bill of goods about something. Because you change the word up doesn't mean much of anything. You were describing before, BZ, about it's the energetic behind it anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
yes. And BZ, you made me think of something. I remember when I flipped it from holding it as though I was being punished, right, for some X, Y, or Z behavior, to holding it or seeing it as X, Y, and Z behavior creates said punishment. If you want to hold it as punishment, pain, suffering, whatever the thing is that you don't like, that you're in resistance to. So it's not that I'm punished for behaving in a certain manner, but it is, if I'm feeling punished, it is because of how I'm behaving that it's making that transpire within. So again, yeah, it's just about sort of owning exactly where you are and what you're doing.
Yeah, and that's a great example just to tie into the out there. That, Lisa, that's where you are, what's the phrase in the EO? So you are directly involved with, indirectly involved with, and complicit in, all at the same time. And hey, you know what? The other thing is, nobody outside matters at all. They could all disappear off the face of existence because, hey, there's only you anyways. And it's still the same thing.
And you are where all the action is.
Well, and and again, this goes back to you had mentioned detoxing, purging, okay, and noticing the distortions, however you want to phrase it. But it's on all, and the words aren't right, so I'm going to go levels / layers / aspects / being / topic / structures, all, just keep going, for a couple 100 million words, and you might actually start to get there. And it's all about revealing to oneself the magnificence that's there, because there's only love. There's only that frequency of love. The thing that might be, I just, upchecked for 3 days while I was, having all sorts of movement in the other direction for 3 days in this, that's all just the frequency of love that has distortions in it. So they're little pokey things or pointy things, or, if you were kind of drawing them, that's all it is. And each one is an experience. Each one is a way to have a connection that, we can be with it, and it beholds something for us, and we move forward. And in what's true for each being each one is precious. I mean, the experience is what I'm talking about, not only each being, but each experience is precious. It's delicious. It's expansive, and it's revealing, and it in each moment changes everything, because there is more unfolding, and to behold. So whether it's stuck in the bathroom for 3 days, I'll use it as a graphic one, right? Good thing there's a sink right there, and the whole 9 yards, right? And I think pretty much everybody has either experienced that themselves or seen it, so it doesn't matter. But or it could be in a meadow sniffing these flowers as each one magically blooms. It's we're not small. And we are each giving ourselves, bringing to ourselves, revealing to ourselves, sitting there in a moment in the workshop going, oh, okay, this one's going to be good, making these different things to show us, that we're not small. Can you hear me now? Are you awake now? Hello? Can you see it now? Can you, in various different ways. And sometimes it's so gorgeous and it's so amazing that it drops you to your knees. And the beauty is overwhelming. And sometimes it's like, whoa, the horrors of it. It doesn't matter. There's no judgment. Well, in all that is and what is true, there is no judgment. It's only on the constricted, closed heart way that there's a judgment.
That's right.
I'm finding it a lot easier to circumvent that that programming these days. Its defenses aren't as high.
I know. You can almost just throw your arms around its neck and love it right into a really cozy spot for everybody. Really, it's available now. It just totally is.
Well, I really feel like, okay, so for myself in puzzle piece collecting, and I don't know if this actually goes with this, but I'm beckoning to say it, so I'm gonna. It is all energetics. All of it is. And it is only through the linear ascribing personas to all of this energetics that through all of that, and I'm going to say it that way because it is we on the most collective level, created all of this. By ascribing persona that demanded to be fed. We all did this. We were all complicit in this. Nothing of love demands to be fed. No, I don't feel like that's and because a persona that demands worship, how can that be the all? That makes no room for all. So that's why I'm very clear about it's all energetics. It is only when we ascribe a persona to, for me, source, when I try to ascribe any kind of persona, that brings all kinds of linear human things into it that don't belong. It doesn't belong because it just doesn't feel like it belongs. In the perfection, the beauty that is created on all levels couldn't be created in that manner. I don't see how it could be. It is what we ascribe to it, what we are ascribing to all of it. That's why communication with all of it is so important. I feel like just being open to it as it comes in and allowing it to reveal all of its wonders.
Yeah.
And not judging any of it. Why only moving with our heart's desire is so important.
Yes.
And the heart is open and all and expansive. And so that phrase of only moving with the heart's desire, if your heart is closed and you come from a very constricted,
I was feeling into what you were saying earlier, BZ, about if you fall down on the floor and you're, oh, I should have done this, and all of the lamentations, and I was feeling how heavy a heart that makes. All the burden on that sort of a heart is so heavy. The energetic with that sort of a heart is so heavy. How could anything flow through that? And I've lived there. I lived in that state for a long time myself, with all those shoulds, because that's what you were just saying. That's what a lamentation is. There's a whole bunch of shoulds there. It's not following one's heart's desire. So,
And in an open heart, their quote unquote the heart's desire will unfold and reveal itself very differently because it's an energetic frequency, and it is service to others. It is love, respect, integrity, and going forth for all in each moment. That's what it is. It's not, hey, I'm going to sit on the beach drinking, Mai Tais or lemonade or whatever it is. It's because it's a whole different way to come from things. And it's feels like, if the margaritas on the beach is your thing, it feels like that. Mm-hmm. Whether you are doing that, whether you're jumping through, fire to do something else, or what, it all feels like that because it's a frequency of that.
Well, and I'm beckoned to say this here because there's a bit of a twist that happens with the statement service to others. That happens sometimes, I feel, because that sounds like it's on the outside. And it's really not. My service to others has nothing to do with anybody else. It has to do with only me. Because it has to start right here first. If I am not honoring myself in every way, including my heart's desire, then I am not serving anyone.
Yeah, and that's service to others with self as other.
Right. I just wanted to make that sort of clear because there's a lot. There's a lot out there about service to others and what that is and what that isn't, and how one goes about trying to figure out where they fall in that, because that's more of that comparison.
Yeah, don't substitute subservient. You know what I mean? Because sometimes it can be held as though, you don't matter and everyone else does.
Well, again, I have to go back to that whole, respecting of self. Yeah. And And if I'm not, okay, a lot of folks will say, well, I need or want or expect this, that, or the other of a person. And it seems very selfish not to do that, right? Not to acquiesce or comply with what they want. But if it's not part of what makes my heart sing to do that thing, that in that instance, to turn around and do that because I feel like I should, that's a disservice. To me, that's a disservice. It is service to self because now I'm doing something to please someone else. And why is that? Why is that? Is it because I don't want them to be upset with me? I don't, and what kind of energetic is that perpetuating?
A closed heart.
Right. All of that. All of that is very closed, and I haven't honored myself if I don't want to do something or go somewhere.
You're
whatever.
dishonoring the other being as well.
Absolutely, by saying, not feeling that today. Maybe some other time. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with having boundaries and respecting self. I wanted to make that clear.
The other thing, yeah, and on the whole, just detoxing and purging and distortion, because that's not genuine. That's not a frequency that is pure and genuine. That's a frequency that has distortion and pokey, springy, yucky, wiry stuff all over it.
Yeah.
So
no, exactly.
Think for a moment and feel into that, and you can very clearly see.
Well, that's why I said that's for me, that's why anything that has a should behind it is not, that's not respectful of
the self. Other thing, so here's just again to come around full circle for a perspective on that. You can do so. I'm just going to make something up just so we have a more concrete. So someone says, hey, do something for me. I really want you to come over to my house today at 3 and do this.
Right.
And so in the first kind of example that Sheila was saying, well, it doesn't make my heart sing in that moment, doesn't feel right. Okay. And so in the service to others with self as other, I'm going to say, no, I'm good. I'm not going to do that today. Okay. But you can also do the very exact same thing at 3 o'clock by within you being whole and complete with an open heart within you and feeling into that. You can go to that being's house at 3 o'clock and absolutely be service to other with self as other and the other as other, right? But it's, again, there's some energetic, some frequency that was the pokey part within you that has shifted. Because someone said, I'm just using that as an example, someone said, well, but I have to go to work, or I have to do this, or you don't understand, and fill in the blank. And it's all energy based, it's all frequency based. And the metaphor, so this is one of the things that Sheila says, I see metaphors everywhere. In this example, that's a metaphor for you feeling the frequency within you of what it is. And when you feel through that and you can see the different distortions and you take them off, then you can go there in that moment, and that is service to other, because in that moment, just to use this example, in that moment it may unfold that something arrives, you don't get upset, you don't get huffy, you don't get subservient, you don't get any other thing, you just are there completely with an open heart. In that moment, you may only stay a moment, you may stay 3 hours. It's not specific amount, well, I put in so much time, or I was a good doobie and I did. Those are all just distortions, because in that it just takes a moment, or it takes what it takes. I'm not describing this well, but you kind of chisel off. If you're Leonardo da Vinci, you chisel off from the marble, and all those distortions, all those rough edges, so to say, all of those things, and the beauty of that moment in that connection, whether you're over there at 3 o'clock in that being's house, or over here, wherever you know, in your house, in a yard, in a park, in a, you know, standing by a building with your hand on the beautiful granite, whatever it is at 3 o'clock, right? In that moment, if you choose to, if you allow it to unfold, if you consciously make it so, you have relieved all of those distortions and been of service to the other as other and yourself as other.
I feel what you're saying. I clearly get what you're saying. I honestly do. I mean, but that you are describing a shift within the being.
Yes.
And that is the difference.
Yes.
Boy, I really get it now. You two really had your work cut out for you with me, and I see how difficult it is to share that. But I do think that there's, because of the choosing that can happen in any given moment, even if the, you know, like you were saying, BZ, the whole thing is, well, you don't understand, I have to do this and that, the other.
Mm-hmm.
A recognition for me, just the recognition, okay, in order to do XYZ, this is what has to happen. And so I can choose to handle this in a particular way, or I can choose to be unhappy about it. There's always choosing. Now, if I'm going to do this because I have to, then I'm going to start actively looking around for things that I can do differently to get my ass out of it if I'm unhappy with it. See, there's a choosing in every moment of now, rather than, like you were saying before, the lamentation of laying on the floor and, oh, poor me. And that, because that's a different energetic altogether too.
Yeah, that energetic, I just had something funny crash in, so I'm going to say this. That's like driving your car, going forward, and only looking in the rearview mirror.
Well, kind of, sort of. And so there, because of the choosing that can take place in every moment of now. Okay, yeah, maybe you do gotta, for whatever your own reasons are, and it doesn't even matter because they're your own reasons, gotta do this. Okay, whatever this is, make the donuts, sweep the floor, you know, whatever this is that you're hating on. And so if you're hating on it that bad, maybe you've already kind of figured out that you don't want to do this anymore. And well, then, and if you're not looking into alternative ways of doing that, then there's a reason to be looking at a few things. I mean, all it really is, like you were saying, BZ, is noticing oneself in any given situation and making, for me, it has been making whatever strides I can't. Well, if I'm not liking this, I'm going to choose something else. Oh, okay, I'll try that for a hot second. And that's not working. So it's that, and that what I'm enjoying the most, I think, too, is that the more I look around for what choosing I can do, the more gets to be revealed too, because you're a little more open to looking at what's up for being chosen. Anything that's striking a frequency within oneself of, I don't want to do that, is something to look into for me.
Well, yes, and here's another. This seems kind of like a, you know, I mean, it's big subject in the sense that a lot of people curl their lip and say, I don't want to do that, but it's. This little piece right here, you know, is really important, because so you were saying, Sheila, well, if you're noticing that, then maybe it's time to choose and move, right? The other thing is that the discordance of I don't like this or I have to do this is within the being, not the this.
Right.
The wife, the husband, the job, the this, the this, the this.
That's why I said anything that makes me say, there's something in there for me to look at.
Right.
Anything. Doesn't matter what it is.
Because a creator being, a kick-ass creator being who's not small, doesn't have any problem with those things. And it doesn't mean, I didn't just say that if you're having that problem that you're not a kick-ass creator being. No, what I just said was when you're having that problem, and that's a stupid-ass linear word, but anyways, when you're having that problem, as a kick-ass creator being, you go, wow, look at that distortion. Cool. And you play with it and you integrate it and you flow through all that. Or you play with it and you go, distortion. Oh my God, I hate this. Oh my God, this sucks. Oh my God, it's their fault. And you are playing it because you're a kid and you're diving into that. Because this is everything that we do. It's not static and it's not
a one and done.
Yeah, and it's all play, it's all creation, it's all expansion, it's all experience, it's all frequency and flowing through it. It's like diving in a new swimming pool that's gorgeous turquoise water, or diving into another one that's this luminous red, or diving into another that's rainbow. And each thing, each metaphor that's out there is all of these different things. It's what we love to do. It's how we're built. It's why we're here.
I just got this huge thing come in while you were just saying all of that. I now I see last week or week before, the Leo King was talking about Disney and the physical theme parks. And this, I mean, I really am seeing that metaphor in this moment of now too, as to what we really got going on here. It is, it's all experience. It doesn't matter. I mean, and then, wow. Okay, so sorry, I got lost in that metaphor, man. This is Disney World, and you can have whatever experience you choose. Whatever it is, there's actually all the limits are off of them now. And that's what I see what you just said, BZ. So yeah, no, it's all is no there. So if you want to, no, all the limits have always been off. We've only limited ourselves. We've only limited ourselves. That's and that's okay.
And we're gonna put that down now too.
Sorry, I am shaking like a leaf now. It's just yeah, that's what's happening. It's always been happening. Oh God, I just saw that. I just saw the enormity of that in that way.
Someone says, are we here yet? You've always been here. And you know, there was a comment asked, well, what does it mean that it's already done, but it has to come into the physical? Ta-da. It's always there. It's moving through in our, that's why I said, you know, someone was kicking back in the Barca lounger. Well, I don't have to do any work. I don't have to do anything. You know, I'm going to get the memo, and a taxi's going to take me to 5th and Main, and I'm going to get on the bus that's taking me to the New Earth. Piece of cake. No, because the New Earth comes from within you. So as long as you're waiting to to do that, then it will never arrive. And Cranky Harry or Harriet, however or Harry and Harry, or Harriet and Harriet, however it is, right? Okay, I'll stop with that. I was gonna say, or Harry dressed as Harriet.
No, she didn't.
Whatever it is, you know, right next to you in the joint Barker Lounger, you know, could say, "Hey, that's it. I'm sitting within me. I'm going to do this work and get up and walk into the new earth," because it's an inside job, and we're all, you could say, we're all part of creating and shifting it all. We're all part of co-creating it, but it begins with us, each one of us. And we make that shift and change.
Yeah.
And that's literal, tangible, touchable, you know, discernible reality. It's also metaphor. It's all of those things, depending on how you want to hold it. And again, go to circle back to the beginning of this conversation. That's part of the detoxing. That's part of the purging. That's part of noticing, you know, the distortions, in that we choose to or not to, in this moment, walk forward. We choose to say it's over here or it's over there, or, hey, you know, we're following X or Y or Z and they've got it right, or it's a good thing, you know, a letter that's kind of near X, Y, or Z came through because, you know, hey, we've got this. No, you brought that letter or that being or that message, or that you brought it forward. You brought it to you. You brought it to shining to you so that you could see it, so that you could finally listen to you. And who are you? Your source. To unfold this moment. That's what's going on. The rest is just metaphor.
You know what I'm enjoying in this moment of now? However, I'm not going to sugarcoat this in the least little bit. I do know I'm source, but I'm also enjoying getting to know these different layers and levels of self. This is so delicious for me in particular. Since I, you know, like I said, I got married at 16, not because I had to, but because I was getting out of my house, my home situation, right? I just, you know, wanted out. Made a deal with the parental units and got out. Right? Sad I chose that way, but apparently was a reason behind it. So what I'm saying is there was never, has never really been any getting to know of self. This physical, you know, incarnated being this go round. There really wasn't at least not on any sort of discernible level that, that there has been over just this last 2 years, because that's been like, yeah. So getting to know oneself on those levels, I highly recommend. If and I bet there's lots and lots and lots of us out there that never even, you know, because it's not taught, and even in folks that got some of that self-esteem stuff where they're, you know, thinking about self, and there's always a little programming and a little twisting in there too for that, so that or at least this is my perception of it, because this is exactly what I have experienced having to detox out of my system, is that's egoic to be concerned with how self feels, you know, and that's not a very service to others kind of attitude, because that's service to self. And, you know, so there's a whole bunch of, then you got guilt tied up in all of that too, because you didn't, you know, serve others. So there's a whole lot tied up in that language, that because I didn't have that healthy respect for self, and going in and feeling and trusting those feelings. And I'm certain that loads and loads and loads of teeny tiny little kids who reported this, that, or the other in the bedroom at night, you didn't hear anything. There's no such thing as monsters. There's no credence given to any kind of feelings that little children have about things. This is where it starts. So there's not a human on this planet that can look at me and tell me that they got a real, I mean, a lot of folks have worked on this, but up until recently, there was no working on that. There was no respecting of self or giving any kind of real credence to paying attention to those feelings and thoughts, and what do they mean, and all of that kind of stuff, until just, you know, like I said, in the last 2 years. So that feels like a really important place to start. Because how do you trust anything if you're not looking into all of that for self? And then we all have that. There's no way around that, in my view, in my perception.
Well,
So,
you're well worth the investment, that's for sure.
yes, we are, and that's why I said what I was saying earlier, Bizia, in regards to that little twist on the service to self and service to others that has been that we all kind of, because it all sounds real good. See, that's just like democratic socialism. All sounds real good until you look into the words separately and you figure out, oh, wait a minute. Yeah.
And everything that Sheila just said and that we've been talking about in this conversation is not just about, so in the vein of the detoxing, the purging, you know, illuminating the distortions, and then integrating and letting all the other aspects of it go, is about everything. So it's about, yes, your physical body, it's about your mental body, it's about your emotional body, it's about all of your bodies, it's about your environment in your home, environment within your car, environment within wherever you have different environments, your yard, in your work, in your every place that you have an environment. If you think of it kind of as a space, whether it's walls or a yard or whatever it is, that's an environment. So all of that. So in your relationship, so if you go to your computer is an environment. Your inbox in your email is an environment. Okay, so the whole, take this whole, everything that we've been talking about, this might be a good example because it seems to strike people as odd. I just felt people going, what are you talking about? Well, if you go to your email inbox or your email, and if you have 30, 40 emails in your inbox that have been there for years, that's all things that need to be purged, that need to be moved through. You may read it and discard it. You may read it and put it in a folder because you want to keep it because there's something great. But by moving it and putting it in a frequency envelope, right? That's called in email language speak, it's called a folder and has a name. Then you have a flow to it. You can easily call it up. Actually, as you do these things, you can call it up with the physical email, not even in the email infrastructure anymore. But that's just one example, and we have them everywhere. So if you take your email inbox, if you take all of your different your email client, if you take your favorites folder on your computer things, because most people have favorites, and most people just favorite it into one big favorite thing. Well, that's an energetic block. That's a whole thing that's tying it up, because what was a favorite a long time ago is still a favorite because you haven't released it. And yet the energy frequency between the difference of the favorite here and the difference of the favorite here is putting this polarity, is putting this diametrically opposed energy frequency and trapping you, locking you in the discordance in the middle. So this thing of the purging, of the detoxing, of the identifying the distortion relates to everything. And I'm just talking about little things right now, but they're huge because they all hold, they all distort, they all trap that energy then. And each moment you shift and change your energy frequency, even if you sit there and lament that nothing ever effing changes. I never get to do what I want. Yes, because you've done it over and over and over again. It's infinitesimally different because you're not aware of what you're doing. You're not conscious of how you're creating this. But as you just to change those things, you can watch everything change. This is how magical this is.
What you're describing right there, BZ, is just a sort of stepping out of a sort of box that one might have unbeknownst to themselves, even. That's what I found. Put themselves in. And just the very act of any of what you were describing there, as you were saying, shifts and changes it. Sure. Just enough. You talked about, we all have talked about event-driven thing. That is an event right there.
It is.
Just that thing, what could be an imperceptible, oh crap, I just got this too. Wait a minute, hold up. Just the act of saying, I am I? That sounds really huge, but it's the exact same thing that you just described. This is just, it's that big.
Yes, it is.
Any imperceptible little shift in how one looks at a thing or views, just asking a simple question, actually, is so as, wow. Sorry.
So I'm gonna see if I can do this. If I can paint the word picture that just came in when you were talking right there. So this is the email box. This is the inbox. And just in shifting a few things from that email box and either putting them in a folder that you create or that's already there and it's in that energetic envelope, or releasing it into the delete box and deleting the delete box so that it's out of the frequency. You dematerialize it so it can go back into energy. In that moment, think of, you take your mouse and you move it to permanently delete, from out of the inbox to permanently delete. Think of a door opening and the flash of light and the rush of sweet, fragrant, warm air and the glistening luminescence of something off in the distance. That after that moment of being startled and you look out and you see what's revealing is this horizon, this rolling horizon that not only shows you what's right in the near of the yard and then the sea and then the worlds, and you can see them right there. And you can then walk on that path and jump to that star system, or jump to that planet, or jump to the horse and you're moving on something. That's how expansive, how unfolding every moment where you consciously shift and do something is. That's what it creates. So string those together and you're making huge shifts because it realigns from a conscious choice from you, the energy frequency. You're becoming the magician. You're becoming this amazing wizard, this amazing conductor, this amazing, well, you're becoming the truth of who you are. But anyways, it's more fun maybe if you think of it outside, where you're calling all this up and you're bringing it forward.
As you described that just then, I saw the reasoning, not reasoning, okay, that's a bad word. Well, of course, it's the beauty and the majesty of the word I got was unfurling, but everywhere we look in nature, it's always the Fibonacci spiral of things. And your description, of course, is what I saw. That I actually saw the thumbnail I'm going to be using for this particular discussion, actually. And it is that. It is the beauty of what that is and why this is all event driven, and we are the catalyst for each of those events from within here. And it just is that, just like with the my perception of source is that it just is, and it has no persona. The same with all, the unfurling I saw there. It just is. And there's no right or wrong to it. It just is. If step A and B didn't go as planned, then maybe C, D, and E don't open quite this way or whatever, but it doesn't necessarily stop that unfurling from presenting in whatever way that I have designed it to unfurl for self. Now, that's what I saw. I saw that there's a very particular, actually, for some reason, there's a very particular plant that I saw doing that with your description. So I'm hoping I can find that one for this thumbnail, because it was very specific in how it just kind of unfurls and from the center and goes outward. And that's the description of what I saw. I felt you. My visual description of what I felt you describing there. And we're in charge of all that. We are in charge of how quickly that goes. And
we are the blossoming rose.
Yes.
And you can't force that.
Well, in the moment of choosing, there is no forcing.
Right?
You choose this moment, you choose eons from now, and they're all perfect because you're choosing.
And I got plenty of time. And I love this. I'm sorry, the metaphor of, I know it's not Disney, and there's a whole bunch of stuff about that, but just that whole theme park vibe thing to it, because it is all quite delicious, Some folks like the being scared. Some folks like getting off of something, being dizzy. Some folks love getting on a roller coaster and being scared out they mind. And all of that is okay, you know. I don't know. That's what came in for me really big for this entire conversation too. So. Well, ladies, thanks for this one.
Yeah, no, thank you.
I know. Well,
So nice.
I know. What am I saying? I know. Well, yes, because I said I know what we're going to talk about. I just hit record. That's right. Okay, so do either one of you have anything that you'd like to share before we close this energetic envelope?
Not really.
No? Well, I want to take a moment and pay homage to the fact of what this represents for me this entire day. And and I guess just I want to say have fun, and thanks for everyone for being on this ride with me, because I am having a blast.
Yeah, me too.
So till next time, and I stole your gig, BZ. I love you.
Bye.